Hello and welcome to the week 4 through 7 overview of the theory section for Science and Symbols, Enhancing Science Instruction Through Literacy in the MCCS era. So basically what we wanted to do here was just walk you through what we're going to be covering the next 4 weeks of the course. So we're going to be focusing on some learning theories, and you may be asking yourself, well, why theory? Basically, in many ways, this section will be a review of some of the key educational theories that you may have learned about during your teacher preparation. The focus here, however, is how they relate specifically to the act of reading and writing in the context of a science classroom. The purpose of this is to provide you with a strong enough background understanding to make informed decisions as you plan instruction and modify existing materials. So we will do a brief review of these 4 theories throughout the next 4 weeks of the course. And the first topic that we're covering this week is information processing. Then we'll move on to social cognitive theory, social constructivism, and situated cognition. So in information processing, there will be 2 major topics that we'll deal with, the two-store or dual memory model and also metacognition. Now this perspective is really focused on an individual and how we take in information and then process or work on that information in order to have an output or to act in our environment or do something in the world. So as I said, this is what we'll be focusing on this week in week 4. Week 5 will move on to social cognitive theory, and a major topic within this perspective is this idea of modeling, or how we learn from observing others in our environment. Social cognitive theory is still really interested in our cognitions, or in what's going on inside our minds, but there is more of an emphasis on how the social aspect of our environment, particularly our observation of others, is influencing our cognitions. Then we move on to social constructivism. Some major topics that we'll discuss within social constructivism, and that many of you have probably heard of, are the zone of proximal development, instructional scaffolding, and inquiry. Now, constructivist perspectives focus on the idea that we construct our knowledge and our understandings of the world, and so we really need to be taking into account what a learner is bringing to the learning situation. The social perspective puts the emphasis on how we learn from interactions with others in our environment, and so we'll talk more about that when we do social constructivism in week 6. And then finally, in week 7, we'll be talking about situated cognition. So some major topics within this perspective are communities of practice, an apprenticeship model, and epistemic games. Now, this may be a perspective that you're not as familiar with. Some of you may or may not have learned about this in your teacher prep courses. But it's very related to a social constructivist perspective, but situated cognition goes even farther in thinking about how learning is essentially tied to the situation or the context in which we're learning. And it argues that if we're trying to prepare our learners for the real world, to have careers or to go to college, what we need to be focusing on is helping them to know how to use the kinds of tools and to learn the kinds of skills that are going to be important once they get to those contexts. So again, this has been just a brief overview of the learning theories that we'll be covering these next 4 weeks, and our goal here is to try to think about why these theories are important when we are hoping to emphasize literate practices in our science classrooms. Thank you.